The next type of nonverbal communication that we're going to discuss are haptics. Haptics refers to the study of communication by touch. And touch is such an interesting form of nonverbal communication. Touch has so much power. It can be comforting to someone in a moment of sorrow, for example. But touch can also be very threatening, depending on the types of touch that are being used. And we probably receive more explicit advice and instruction on how to use touch than any other form of nonverbal communication. For example, when you were growing up, you were probably told by teachers and by your parents to keep your hands to yourself, right? To not hit other people or to not touch other people without their permission. And you've probably also been told in the professional world that a firm handshake is the key to a good job interview, and that not having a firm handshake can create really negative judgments about you. And some touches even have legal punishment. So we have to have these explicit advices and instructions when it comes to touch. So there are 4 different types of touch that we are going to talk about here. The first of these is functional professional. Functional professional touch is touch that is related to a goal or that is part of a routine in a professional interaction. So, for example, hairstylists, doctors, nurses, tattoo artists, and security screeners all use touch as a part of their job, as a part of their profession. So when a tattoo artist is touching your arm as they're giving you a tattoo, that is functional professional touch. When a doctor is touching your knee to see how inflamed it is, that is also functional professional touch. So that is one type of touch that we utilize. Another type of touch that we use is social polite touch. This is touch that is socially sanctioned to help initiate interactions. So this could be, for example, a tap on the shoulder to get someone's attention. Social polite touches can show others that they are included or respected. So, for example, you might share a handshake with someone or pat them on the arm to show that they are included in this interaction. The next type of touch is friendship warmth touch. These are touch interactions that serve a relational maintenance purpose and communicate closeness, liking, care, and concern. And these touches can communicate a lot of different things in these relationships, and they can vary from very formal to being very ritualized and more intimate. So, for example, in a friendship, having too much touch in a friendship might signal sexual or romantic interest, where too little touch might signal distance or unfriendliness. So this is also not only just about the types of touch, but the frequency of those touches as well. And then the final type of touch that we have is the love intimacy touch. And love intimacy touch is much more personal, and it's typically only exchanged between significant others, meaning your best friends, your close family members, and your romantic partners. And love intimacy touches enhance the feelings of closeness and intimacy between relational partners. And an interesting part of love intimacy touch is actually hugging. And there are lots of different kinds of hug that can communicate different things depending on the way that you're hugging, right? So you have the crisscross hug where one arm is going over the other person's shoulder and the other arm is kind of coming up behind their back. You have the neck-waist hug where one person is hugging the other around the neck and the other person is hugging them around the waist. And then you have the engulfing hug, right, where you just kind of smother the other person with the hug. And then there are also the handshake leading into a tap on the back hug, right? And this type of hug is super interesting because A, it's typically done between two male relational partners. And generally speaking, the handshake that initiates the hug is maintained between the chests of the two people, which minimizes the physical closeness. Because maybe those two individuals have been socialized to think that men can't get too close to one another. And so they feel like they have to have that barrier between them rather than just going for a straight up crisscross hug or an engulfing hug. And so all of these different touches can communicate very different things in our relationships. And it's interesting to look at the way that a touch is received by the other person and how that ultimately impacts the relationship.